Hello my darklings and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for coming to watch this video today. I am Vicky Scythemore, your vampire queen and goddess. If you don't already know who I am, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe, check the links down below, and if you'd like your own custom ASMR to keep for yourself or to donate to the community, please email me at vickyscythemore@gmail.com. As you can tell, I'm using my IRL normal volume voice today for this new series. It was an idea that I've had for a while, and I asked the Darklings, and it seems like there was a very, very large vote that you guys would like to see something like this. I enjoy talking in normal volume, obviously, but it just feels so strange getting in front of a camera and speaking at normal volume. When I do my makeup videos for you guys, it's always such a weird, strange thing. It takes a while to get into. I also don't want to make this wow. I don't want to make this video about movies super duper 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 long. But I really don't know how long this type of video is going to be or should be. So I guess I'm just going to get into it and see how it goes. I'm going to try very hard not to ramble. I think the purpose of this is just to be like, chop, 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 like this is the video, blah, 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 blah. We're going to call this series Review with the Vampire, kind of like Interview with the Vampire. Yes. So we're going to start today with the Tarot movie, or Tarot, however you pronounce it. I did go and see it, and I have quite a few choice words to say. I don't know why I feel so nervous. This is so strange. I think this is just so different to me that I just feel like, ugh, okay. Ugh. Let's just get started, shall we? Alright, so these reviews are gonna be a review with my opinion, but more also like a summary of the movie. In my own words. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Olaf do like the summary of the Disney movies, but it's gonna be kind of like that. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show photos or clips of the movie. I would like to. I'm going to try so you guys can visualize what I'm talking about, but we shall see. So let's get into this movie. It's the Tarot. It's just, yeah, the Tarot. It's just Tarot. And let's start off by saying that I thought this was a rated R movie. About 3/4 of the way through the movie, realized it must be PG-13, and I was extremely disappointed. The movie as a whole, well, I'll get into that at the end, I guess, and rate it at the end. How about that? But the fact that it wasn't rated R, this movie could have been so much better than it was. So it starts out with teenagers, you know, doing their thing. Actually, I think they were college students. Rewind this. Sorry. It usually starts with teenagers or college students, but it starts with college students, you know, hanging out at a cabin, but this is an Airbnb, and they're drinking alcohol. And, you know, doing all the bad sin things, because, you know, kids that do bad things deserve bad things. So they're drinking all the alcohol, you know, kind of setting the stage. They're all friends. It's one of their birthdays, and we find out that two of the main characters were a couple, but they're broken up now, and the whole group just found out about it right now. All right. And then they're drinking, they're having fun. They ran out of alcohol. Oh no, what do we do? So now they're gonna go into the house that they're staying at, and they're like, they have to have alcohol locked up here somewhere, right? So they go in, they're looking for the alcohol, they find a locked door that pretty much says, do not go inside. But guess what? They go inside. So they lockpick the door, which happens to go into the basement. And in the basement is all this occult stuff and like things in jars. Oh my god, so spooky. So we got things in jars. I don't remember specifically, but you know, like hearts and heads and animals and stuff. A bunch of like very occulty things where it looks like don't touch. So they go to the back, there's this box, and inside the box, they open it up, and it is painted tarot cards. and one of the characters is like, what is this? And then this is kind of important, so I'll say this. One of the people that was in the couple, it's a guy and a girl. The girl says, oh, these are tarot cards. I've never seen ones like these before. They're hand painted. And then everyone's like, you should read our tarot cards. And she's like, no, I don't want to. But tarot and astrology, when used together, can be a very effective way to tell your future. But no. And they're like, but please. And she's like, but no. And then the girl whose birthday it is, she's like, but it's my birthday. She's like, fine, I will read all your tarot readings. So they go upstairs. I forgot about the alcohol, of course, because this is way more fascinating.
It's an unspoken rule not to use somebody else's cards.
Who cares?
She reads all of their tarot readings.
Who's going first?
And she does a 13 card spread that has to do with astrology. So what I did really like about this movie is that it used things that we know to be true for astrology, whether you believe in astrology or not. They did stick to true factual astrological things. So like traits versus like traits of your star sign and what the tarot cards actually mean, which tarot's not astrology, but when used together can be effective. So I did appreciate that very, very much. She went through all of her friends, and these cards that are painted are very scary. They're not just like, you pretty little happy painted cards. No. And every end card that she uses, like they show and have specific emphasis on it. And it's like the major arcana. So it's, I think like it was like Hermit, the Fool, the Empress. So it was more face cards, like really important cards. It wasn't just like the Seven of Swords or like the Nine of Pentacles or whatever. Except I think one of them may have been, now that I'm thinking about it. But anyways, as she's saying these people's readings, you know, she's saying specific things. I'm going to use one person as an example because I can kind of remember what they're said. It said that they were going to come into some money, but that they were going to get led down the wrong track. So she does that, and then they're like, read your own, and she's like, no, and then they're like, read your own, and she's like, fine. So she reads her own reading as well. Okay. I thought at this point in the movie it was going to be kind of an Evil Dead situation where now, you know, something was going to come after them and kill them all at the Airbnb. Wrong! So the only thing that happens is that one of the main guys, he goes and he sees kind of like a figure, like a hooded figure with glowing eyes on the balcony. Or maybe it was the back porch area. I don't remember. And then it goes away. That's it. Then the weekend's over and they're going home and I'm like, oh, okay. So is this going to be a Final Destination type situation? Yes, it was. And not in a good way. So Final Destination, if you haven't seen it, did this really amazing thing. It's one of my favorite series, franchise, that they could show you a way that a character is going to die, but then they completely surprise you and out of left field pull in something and they die a completely different way. Not this movie. Extremely freaking predictable and annoying. So the friends leave for the weekend. They go back, and the first person, well, how do I put this? The birthday girl ends up getting, I don't know what the word would be, like kind of like haunted. She's back at her dorm room. There's nobody there, right? Then she sees that like the little attic door is open and the ladder's down, and she's like, hello, hello, anybody up there?
Hello?
No, nobody up there. She like, pushes the ladder up, closes it. First thing I'm doing is like, what if someone's up there? Like, there's clearly someone around or someone up there, and you just like lock them up there. I just have National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation playing in my head, and the poor guy is just stuck in the freaking attic, freezing to death, wearing his, mother's or grandmother's clothes. So she does that. Then, of course, ladder back down, door back open. This is where it's actually really good. Like, the start of this was so cool. It was such a cool idea, right? Like, tarot readings coming true. Such a cool concept. We see, I think it was the High Priestess, I believe. So scary, looks so good. she obviously climbs up the ladder, and I think that was something about her tarot reading was about climbing a ladder. So she thought it was like climbing a ladder of success. And she climbs the ladder, this thing is up there, she's like, oh my god. She, is trying to come back down, she falls, the ladder, falls off the ladder, hurts herself, tries to crawl to her phone that's ringing, and the high priestess takes the ladder and just goes like a couple times, and blood. I'm so happy. It was spurting and awesome and brutal, and she dead. So I was very happy. I thought the movie was going to be awesome. Foreshadowing, no. So after that, it starts going into some more of them. The one that I remembered about the guy, he was going to come into some money. He won like $600 on a lottery ticket. And then he is in the train station by himself. And his end card for his tarot reading was the Hermit, which has like a lantern. So we see this like hooded figure with a lantern at like the end of the like train station. The makeup was so good. I will say that the makeup and the design for the characters was so good, but after a while, the bad guys just looked like people in makeup, which sucked because it's just like, it was cool at first and then it's like, oh, so they're just really up close people in makeup and like that's it. Not that I'm one for CG, I actually love practical effects and horror makeup and SFX so much. It's just the way that they did it made it seem more like a haunted house. So this guy is chasing him, and the like darkness is coming in on him and it's like going black and black and black. So he's getting kind of chased into a part of the train station that doesn't have anyone there. It seems like there's trains that are out of order and there's graffiti everywhere. In the graffiti there's some like wrong way, wrong track, something like that. And it's like, oh cool, like that's cool, nod to it, nod to his reading or whatever. The Hermit like ends up coming more towards him as he's hunkered down in one of these train cars where there's nobody in it. And he decides to try to get away from the Hermit and opens the door to go out and train. So blood splatter whoosh, on the window. So predictable. I'm just like, he's just gonna get, it was two things, either get hit by a train or like get electrocuted by the tracks, which I don't know if is really a real thing or not, but I've seen it in horror movies, so I thought it was gonna be one or the other. And it's like, oh, okay, now he dead. So all the friends are together, they're mourning, obviously, these two people that passed away, and they're like, oh no, our friends are dying, why are our friends dying? And then someone's like, it's the tarot reading, they're dying just the way you read our tarot cards. And then, of course, the one guy that's the ex. So the girl that read their tarot cards is one of the people of the couple, and her ex is like, no, it's not that. You're all crazy. Our friends are just dying because they're dying. And then everyone's like, nah. So they decide to go on the internet and look stuff up. And of course, we always find all our magical answers to nonsense on the internets. So they're like, we're gonna die exactly the way our tarot readings are. Yeah, okay, let's look this up. Oh, other people died too. Actually, wait. No, they didn't. Maybe they did. No. They found out that there was a woman who specialized in these sorts of things, specifically with cursed tarot cards. And guess what? She's only, I think an hour or two away from where they are. So they go driving to this old lady's house, and then they knock on the door, and the old lady's like, go away, and they're like, but help us, please, our friends are dying, and she's like, no, go away, and they're like, but please, and she's like, fine, come inside, as she undoes all the, like, whatever deadbolts and locks, and is like, come inside, so cliche. And the inside of her house looks like a crime scene investigation. There's like all these papers and strings and everything everywhere, and it's like, wow, I wonder what you study. So she's like, what's going on? And they tell her, and she's like, all right, now sit down and gather while I tell a story. So she tells the story, how somehow she has this information. No idea. but she knows specific accounts of groups of people who've read with a tarot deck and died every single time based on their readings, or just because they had, I don't know how she had the correlation of group of people have tarot readings, and they die, and then the deck just keeps disappearing. She knows specifically her own account, which was her and her friends in the 60s, that she survived because she read their readings, but she herself didn't read a reading for herself, so she didn't die. She survived. And then she found out the history of the cards somehow magically. No idea how this would have happened, but it was a seer in like the 1800s. She was specifically the reader for this one guy. She would always give him readings. One day she gives this guy a reading that his wife and child were gonna die in childbirth. And he's like, no, they're not. And she's like, yes, they are. And he's like, no, read it again. And she's like, I read it again, and yes, they are. And he's like, no, I fire you, leave. So she leaves, but guess what? His wife and child die in childbirth. But who does he blame? Of course, the poor lady who read his tarot reading. So what does he do? He strings up her daughter and kills her. So yeah, okay, this makes sense. And then she's like, well, since you did that, I'm going to make this cursed deck of tarot cards. And in order to imbue this magic that's going to kill everybody, whoever reads the tarot readings, I'm going to myself. So that's what she does. No idea how this old lady who lives in a random house in the middle of nowhere figure that out, because that doesn't seem like first-hand account that would be talked about or written down or whatever, because of course everybody died that she was going against, all the people that took everything out on her daughter and the guy that fired her in the first place. So they're like, oh no, okay, well, we gotta deal with the tarot deck then. And she's like, well, where is it? It's back where we were. Okay, we're gonna go destroy it. But she doesn't go with them. She doesn't go with them. I don't know why she doesn't go with them. This lady has been searching since the 60s. So it's 40, 20, 60? She's been searching for 60 years for this tarot deck. She finally knows exactly where it is. And she's just like, yeah, okay, kids, bye-bye. Go on now after I've told my story. So the kids leave, so that makes no freaking sense. The lady should have went. The lady would have went. That, I'm sure I'm forgetting other things that was making me come on. But this lady would have went with them. So they obviously make their way back, and they're trying to think of what their readings were, and there was a couple videos that were taken, so they're trying to figure out, how to combat this, right? So one of the girls, I think it said that she was a Pisces. I'm not sure, but I know that they said based on her star sign that she runs from things and that this was going to be a problem. Oh, and that technology was going to fail her. That was part of her reading. So they're driving. Now they're on a bridge. All of a sudden, the car stops working. Just stops working, phones stop working, and there's something rattling and going around the car, and a little sensor on the car that lets you know if something's too close. It's going off, which I thought was actually a really cool concept. I'm like, oh, that's so cool, because that's something we have now that would definitely be I don't know, it's like showing the scary thing without showing the scary thing. It's around you, you're getting the notification that it's around you. So that was really cool. And then they're like, just don't run. They're trying to tell her not to get out of the car and run. Guess what she does? She opens the door, gets out of the car, and runs away. And ends up bleh, because I think her card was the Hanged Man. So then the scary thing, which looked cool, ended up, and pulling her up, and she's on the bridge. So there's only a couple of them left at this point now. I think there's 4 left. I think the couple. So the couple's still alive. Well, ex-couple. One really silly, goofy friend who was actually one of my favorite characters of the whole thing. And then another girl. I'm trying to remember. I think that's it. I think that's all that's left is the 4 of them. So they're like, well, we need to go back to the house that we stayed at, the Airbnb, And the funny guy that I was talking about that I really liked, he's like, no, I'm just gonna wait it out. I'm not gonna deal with this. And they're like, no, you need to like go against your reading and like come with us and destroy this. He's like, nope, I'm gonna go home. So he goes home, or back to his, I think it's a dormer apartment. I know that he has a roommate. And the Fool is his ending card, and he ends up getting chased by this really cool jester guy, but I feel like how they always do jesters, he's just jester. Scary, tilt your head to the side. But he looked really cool, but you know, like there's the Fool like written on little cards and like flyers and stuff, and he ends up in an elevator and all the buttons turn into, I think he's a Taurus, so I think all the buttons turn into Taurus signs. And he's screaming and opening and closing the door. I think that's what his reading was too, about what doors would open for him. And like this jester is just like kind of taunting him at this point. And then we see that he's like about to get got by the jester, and then black. Oh really? Oh really, Lance? Yeah. Come here. Oh, say hello to the people. Yeah. Yeah, want me to hold you? Yeah. So, I'm like, well, either he got, because at this point, I think it was like at this point when I started realizing it was PG-13, because we weren't really seeing the deaths anymore that I really wanted to see. And so I was like, okay, either he got, or the end of his tarot reading, okay, we can go down. The end of his tarot reading was he was going to pop up somewhere where his friends wouldn't expect him. So I figured his dead body was going to pop up somewhere. He was going to be like a bad guy or something. So now, go back to the house where the leftover 3 characters are. They get to the house, they get the cards. Somehow, the one girl that's not in the couple, she was able to book the Airbnb right then and there, so they could just get in the house and it's fine. That's not how that works. You have to get approved. So they go in the basement, get the cards, instantly put a fire in the fireplace, put the cards in the fireplace, but guess what? They're not burning. Of course not. Why would they burn? Why would it be that easy? Do you really think dark black magic you could just burn cards? Also, usually anything you see that you're like with an occult item, you don't burn it, because it usually releases whatever the f***'s in it and just like whoosh. Lancey's so emphatic right now. So they're like, oh no, what do we do? So they call the old lady and they're like, hey, help. Because, of course, where they are, where the lady is, and where this Airbnb is all within driving distance for this one same night. So she's like, I'm on my way. She should just wait there in the first place, but I guess she would have told them you can't burn the cards, but you thought she would have said that when they were there. So they ring the doorbell, they're like, oh no, who's there? They open the door, it's the lady, and it's like, you just called her. Of course she's there. So she comes inside and she's like, all right, well, what we need to do is to do a reading for her. Or I don't remember her name, but the original tarot reader who cursed the cards, whose daughter was murdered. So they're like, we need to do a reading for her and it'll turn everything around on her. Actually kind of a cool concept. I actually really did like it, and I was like, okay, I don't know how this is going to happen or work, but I do like this. So they set everything up. It's like super special with like candles and like the 13 card reading. The older lady starts putting the cards down, and then she's like, oh no, she's here. And then you see like a like scary dead version of the original tarot reader that cursed the deck. And she does look really cool. But it's like, yeah, you're screwed. Like, now what are you gonna do? So she, the original tarot reader, reads the cards for the old lady. Like, you're the one that got away in the 60s. I'm gonna read your cards and get you. So she like is like possessing the old lady and doing a tarot reading for the old lady. And her card is, oh shoot, I can't remember. Hey, Mama Moore? Yeah. Which tarot card is the one with all the swords in the back? How many swords? 10. 10 swords. All right. The card is either 9 or 10. That's okay. 9 or 10 helps. I know it's a lot of swords. You look it up. It's a lot of swords. It's several swords. Mama Moore is looking right now.
Yeah, I was right the first time. 10.
You're at the first. Thank you. All right. So 10 of Swords is the card. Thank you, Mama Moore. So 10 of Swords, which the card is a person laying down with a bunch of swords in their back. I don't know the tarot deck as well. I haven't studied it that much. Just basic knowledge. So I couldn't remember how many swords, but I knew it was a lot of swords. So 10 swords in the back. So guess what? All of a sudden, so they start running and the old lady's like trying to run away, and then all of a sudden they don't show it, and then they just show her on the ground with a bunch of swords in her back. It's like, all right, well, the only person that could help us and had any knowledge and has been studying this for 60 years is now dead. Like, that happened within like a 5-minute span, not even, of her getting to the house, and it's just like, and done. The old lady was a cool character. It could have been a really cool concept. I just feel like it was done so stupidly. And she's dead. So now it's just the three of them running around the house. The couple, we'll put them to the side for a second, the ex-couple, which of course the whole movie, they're getting closer and closer together and getting reconnected because trauma bond, murder bonds people, yeah. So we have the one girl left, and her last card was the Magician, which again could have been so cool, but they did it so strangely, and they spent so much time on it. Everything was like bam, 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 bam. They spent so much time on this one. I think it's because they had a really cool idea and they really wanted to do it, and it just, because it was a PG-13 movie, it was, If it was a rated R movie, it would have been. So she's running around. I believe she ends up in the attic, somewhere with a bunch of really old stuff. The Magician, like you see, like a creepy hand, starts a record playing. And then he's like chasing her around. And because I think something happens with her eyesight. I don't remember what specifically happens with her eyesight.
In tarot, the magician's bag of tricks will prevent you from seeing clearly.
But she ends up climbing in a box on her own. On her own! Ugh! Then he locks her in the box. I'm like, what are you doing?
Will prevent you from seeing clearly.
You may feel like you're being split in two directions.
So all of a sudden now they're on this like stage in another world, in another plane, with the audience being a bunch of, I guess, dead people? I'm not really sure if they were demons or dead people. It was just people like me with like makeup on. I think the budget for the movie was low, which is fine. That means absolutely nothing. But you got to use tricks and light and stuff. But I do think that they were supposed to be dead, so it was like a dead audience and the creepy magician. So he has her in the box. He's like jabbing at the box and she's like moving and screaming, right? I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, like, I see where this is going. But the cool concept is that he got her in the box, she's in the box, there's a crank. So he starts cranking and the bottom of the box starts lifting up towards the top. So she has no other recourse but to lay down. I'm like, oh, that's actually a really cool concept. Also, this whole, like, doing this whole show for, like, this dead audience, also a cool concept. Very strange that they took so much time on it, but very cool. So she raises her all the way up. Obviously, we know where this is going. Giant sword. PG-13 movie. Didn't get to see anything. It was very, like, out of frame, out of shot, kind of like a pull through at the end. I love Saw. So, like, I wanted to see her guts, like, open up the box and her guts just spilling out everywhere. Didn't get to see that. So disappointed. But it's okay. So all we have left is the guy and the girl that broke up. That's all we have left. And the girl, remember, she's the original one that read the tarot cards for everybody. So she is trying to run away from her own thing, which I really don't remember what the end of her reading was. I really don't, for some strange reason. But she wants to get back to the original deck of cards so she can read the original tarot reader's reading. So she can end this because she's confident that that's how this is going to end. The guy, I remember that his reading was that he was going to die for love. So I figured, actually, the very beginning of this movie, I'm like, the two of them are going to survive. The ex-couple, they're the only ones. Either that or only the reader. So he's running around. I'm like, oh, he might die for love, to save her, protect her, you know. So two of them are running around. He does end up, like, thwarting the bad thing and, like, throwing himself in front of it so that she gets away. Doesn't die, though. And she gets to the tarot cards. She's like, I'm going to read your tarot reading. I know what happened to you is terrible, but you have to stop this. So she does the tarot reading, and then the end card is death, which I do appreciate in the movie. I think they may have said it twice, that the death card doesn't necessarily mean death, that it can mean rebirth or death, but she says, but in your case, it means death. And of course, the big bad person who, the girl who, so that she could curse this deck, just starts disintegrating. And like that was it. And like disintegrated by doing it fast enough, obviously, like she has a time crunch. She saves her ex. And yeah, that's it. So the two of them are done. They're walking out of the Airbnb kind of, like, all I'm thinking is, how the frick are they going to explain their sawed in half friend in the house and the old lady with all the swords in her back? Like, what? But okay. So they're walking, and this car starts coming towards them down the road, and it stops. And then it speeds up really fast. I'm like, oh man, like what's in the car? Now they're just going to get run over? What? And it stops right in front of them, and it's the goofy friend that was in the elevator that we didn't see die. Apparently his roommate came and opened up the elevator, and then nothing happened. I was like, what? So just someone interfering? Like, and also they said several times in the movie that you can't change fate. You can't fight fate. Like, you can't do anything against it, which is what we learned in Final Destination, that even if they were able to skip their death, it always came back to them, which they really explore in Final Destination 2, which I loved.
Death could be coming for us.
I have this really bad feeling. It's not over yet.
So they all get in the car and then drive off into the sunset. If there was a sequel, maybe it would be that, there's another deck, or that the three of them are trying to escape their fate still. I don't think there's going to be a second one. I don't know if this movie did well or not. I would have to go look at that. I don't think it did well. If this movie was written a little bit differently and maybe had a little bit bigger budget or just different editing style and was rated R, this could have been so cool. I really, really, really like the concept. Like, this is something that's actually different and new and original, and I really feel like it could have been great. But it just, it didn't make sense. There's too much that didn't make sense. I was like, really? Come on. There's different ways that they could have wrote it. Like, I would love for them to have written it in a way that made sense, like believable, yes. And also blood and guts. I wanted blood and guts. So that was my own fault for not knowing it was a PG-13 movie. But overall, rating this movie, like, out of 10, let's say I'm going to rate it, based on, like, my favorites and how it was done. It has a cool concept, so I feel like it gets a couple extra points for having, like, a cool concept. I'm gonna give it a 7.2 out of 10. Yeah, because it had some really good moments and really cool new original things. The acting wasn't bad. And I really did like the makeup and the character design. So I'm gonna give it a 7.2. Yeah. So, I hope you liked the review with the vampire for my first one. I tried to summarize the movie the best I can, and I know I'm super opinionated and sarcastic, so I hope you enjoyed. Leave suggestions down below for what movie you would like me to review. We're doing horror movies. I have so many I would like to do that I have seen and really love or really hated. I have new ones I really want to watch. And there's so many suggestions that you guys have already given me. So there's definitely so many movies. I'm going to have to, like, make a list. I have to make a list. But, yeah. All right. Love you, darklings.